Tonight, Biden takes action at the border.
Today, I'm announcing actions to bar migrants who cross our southern border unlawfully from receiving asylum.
The developing news as we come on the air after President Biden signed an executive order dramatically tightening restrictions at the southern border. Why the border could shut down overnight, what this move just months away from the election now means, and how it impacts the men, women, and children seeking asylum. We'll have coverage from both sides of the border. Plus, there may be nothing more divisive in sports than Caitlin Clark right now, but it isn't actually Clark, but her existence, what she's done for the WNBA that's coming under scrutiny as a string of media controversies follow her. Why and what's next? And
the honor is so great to be able to go back.
In just 2 days, the world joins to celebrate the 80th anniversary of the invasion of Normandy, the operation that launched the liberation of Western Europe. And tonight, we meet some of the World War II veterans who played a critical role in our history. Good evening, everyone. I'm Lindsay Davis. Thanks so much for streaming with us. We're following those stories and much more, including how federal prosecutors are trying to paint Hunter Biden in his gun trial as jurors get a first look at the documents at the center of the case. Plus, why the president says there is every reason to believe Benjamin Netanyahu is prolonging the Israel-Hamas war. And my interview with the sole black female member of the U.S. Senate, Senator LaFonza Butler, why she says she isn't running for the seat, what it means to be queer in a position of power, and her role as a mother in the political arena. But we do begin with President Joe Biden's move to address what is consistently one of voters' top concerns ahead of November's election: immigration. A new executive order could potentially close the border to migrants crossing illegally as soon as midnight. The executive order restricts asylum claims at the southern border and bans migrants from seeking asylum if they cross illegally. Today, Biden defended America as a country that welcomes immigrants, but said we must first secure the border and secure it now. The president said he took the step because Republicans in Congress wouldn't agree to the bipartisan legislation negotiated this year. Trump took a similar step while he was in office, and Democrats at the time fiercely criticized it. Advocacy groups are already blasting the move, saying if it was illegal under Trump, it is illegal now. We'll hear from one of those groups in a moment. And our team on both sides of the border is standing by for more. But first, our Rachel Scott leads us off from the White House.
President Biden taking sweeping executive action to address the crisis at the border, announcing plans to strictly limit the asylum process, and a move that will temporarily close the border to migrants crossing illegally at midnight tonight.
I've come here today to do what the Republicans in Congress refuse to do: take the necessary steps to secure our border.
It comes after Republicans in Congress rejected a tough bipartisan border deal at the urging of Donald Trump, who wants to run on the issue. Under today's new executive action, when migrant apprehensions average 2,500 a day over the course of a week, the asylum process for people crossing illegally would automatically shut down. They would no longer be allowed to stay in the United States while their claims are being processed.
Doing nothing is not an option. We have to act. We must act consistent with both our law and our values as Americans.
The restrictions would only be lifted when apprehensions drop to 1,500 a day or less for 2 weeks. We haven't seen numbers that low in years. The president says there would be limited exceptions for unaccompanied children and victims of human trafficking. And he insists his position on immigration is far different than Donald Trump.
Well, I will never demonize immigrants. I'll never refer to immigrants as poisoning the blood of a country. And further, I'll never separate children from their families at the border.
Today, Trump says Biden is only doing this because he's desperate.
Crooked Joe Biden is pretending to finally do something about the border. But in fact, it's all about show because he knows we have a debate coming up in 3 weeks. The truth is that Joe Biden's executive order won't stop the invasion. It's weak and it's pathetic.
Progressive Democrats warn Biden's move could backfire.
They think it's going to bring Republicans over or some independents. I don't think it does. And I think in the end, we end up hurting the very people that we're fighting for.
But the mayor of Laredo, who stood with Biden today at the White House, tells me the president had no choice.
What type of impact is this going to have where you live?
Well, first of all, we don't have all the resources to deal with the migrants coming to our borders, especially medical services. We're medically underserved as it is, and we don't have a lot of infrastructure. And being able to deal with poverty and people that are homeless would be another situation that we don't want to have that happen in our community.
Rachel Scott joins us now from the White House. Rachel, when will this new policy be triggered?
Yeah, Lindsay, so this new policy will be triggered when the daily average of migrant apprehensions exceeds 2,500 for the week. And here is what is important. Administration officials tell us that we have already far exceeded that threshold for the week, which means starting tonight at midnight, large portions of the border will be temporarily closed for migrants who are trying to enter the United States illegally and claim asylum. Lindsay.
Already on a Tuesday. All right, Rachel Scott from the White House for us. Thanks so much, Rachel. In a few minutes, we'll head to the border where we'll hear from our reporters on the ground on the impact this executive action is having on the men, women, and children gathered there. And we'll bring you exclusive sound from some of the smugglers getting these migrants across. Now to the trial of President Biden's son, Hunter Biden. Today, lawyers set out their cases in opening statements, and jurors got their first look at the document at the center of the federal gun charges. ABC's Terry Moran is at the courthouse in Wilmington, Delaware.
With his wife by his side, Hunter Biden today was back in federal court in Delaware for opening statements in his trial on felony gun charges. First Lady Jill Biden and Hunter's sister Ashley sat behind the defendant in a show of support, while prosecutor Derek Hines laid out the government's case, telling the jury no one is above the law. It doesn't matter who you are or what your name is. The president's son, Hines said, bought a gun and lied during a background check in 2018, knowing he was a drug user and a drug addict when he filled out the federal form for gun purchases. And the prosecutor painted a vivid portrait of Hunter Biden, the crack addict, including evidence from his laptop and text messages admitting, "I'm a liar and a thief, a user and an addict." Defense lawyer Abby Lowell told jurors in his opening statement Hunter Biden did not knowingly violate these laws and said at the time he bought the gun, Hunter was using alcohol, not drugs, that his behavior was totally inconsistent with drug use, saying there's no such thing as a high-functioning crack addict. Then the first witness, an FBI agent, played Hunter Biden reading his own words from the audiobook of his memoir, Beautiful Things, recounting his days among drug users.
I was just as much a part of the depravity as they were. I was smoking crack every 15 minutes.
Finally, jurors saw the angry text exchange between Hunter and Hallie Biden, his brother Beau's widow, and Hunter's girlfriend at the time, who found the gun and ditched it in a trash can. "Did you take that from me? You're being totally irresponsible and unhinged," Hunter texted. Hallie responding, "I just want you to be safe. That was not safe."
Terry Moran joins us now. Terry, you mentioned that members of the Biden family were there in the courtroom. How did they respond to today's testimony?
You know, Lindsay, this was a long, hard day of testimony for members of the Biden family. The sad, sordid tale of Hunter Biden's descent into this flagrant addiction and the consequences of it for the whole family. You know, that was the subject of the testimony, sometimes in his own words. And at one point, Ashley Biden, Hunter's sister, seemed to grow emotional. She dabbed her eyes with a tissue. And First Lady Jill Biden, their mother, put her arm around her to comfort her. And there is more of this coming tomorrow. The prosecution's case continues with the testimony of Hallie Biden, that is Beau Biden's widow, and who was for a time romantically involved with Hunter Biden. And so it's probably another long day for them tomorrow. Lindsay?
You can imagine. All right, Terry Moran, our thanks to you. Now to the AT&T service disruptions affecting millions of customers who say that they can't make calls to phones on other networks. Here's Ariel Reshef with what we know so far.
Tonight, reports from across the country that AT&T users are unable to make or receive calls to other carriers. The website Down Detector, which tracks self-reported outages, showing New York City, Chicago, Philadelphia, Dallas, Pittsburgh, and Indianapolis among those cities with the most reports of issues. AT&T confirming in a statement that there is a nationwide issue that is affecting the ability of customers to complete calls between carriers. AT&T says a notice they sent to 911 call centers that emergency services were affected was sent in error, and 911 calls are operating normally at this time. Back in February, AT&T customers in major cities all over the country lost cell service for hours. That included emergency services, 911 in multiple states, and FirstNet, a nationwide network for first responder and police communication. The FCC opened a formal investigation into the cause, which AT&T blamed on a technical error while expanding their network.
Lindsay, the FCC says it is investigating. It's still unclear how many of AT&T's 100 million customers have been affected. Lindsay?
Ariel, our thanks to you. Now to the dangerous and life-threatening heat wave moving into much of the southwestern U.S. 30 million people on alert. Triple-digit temperatures and record highs are expected in many places. ABC Chief Meteorologist Ginger Z is standing by with a look at what's ahead. Hey, Ginger.
Hey there, Lindsay. So excessive heat warnings in Nevada, Arizona, and California. You know, if Las Vegas hits 110 tomorrow, which they'll get close, it would be the earliest on record. That's the thing. This is early. And it's about 3 weeks early for them to do this. And you'll see those excessive heat warnings all the way up to Redding, so up those valleys in California. That's the thing, too. It's not just going to stop in the desert Southwest. That high is going to build with the ridge. Boise, Idaho, 96. Salt Lake City, up to 97 to start the weekend. Looks like most people start to cool or moderate, I should say, not that cool going into the weekend, but still those records could fall in those areas that are boxed. Let's talk about the damaging winds that are happening as we speak. There's severe thunderstorm watches for parts of Mississippi and Louisiana. Those flood watches I want your eye on because Oklahoma City got hit hard overnight with more than 4.5 inches of rain. They're going to do it again tonight, and it will look like this. That Boeing area will start to come together, especially in southeastern Oklahoma, Paris, Texas, Tyler, Texas, over to Shreveport by early morning tomorrow. With that, you get 2 to 4 inches really fast. Lindsay?
No rest for the weary. We can see that is actually taking a toll for your voice there, Ginger. We hope that your laryngitis goes away soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
2 young girls were shot at a playground in Brooklyn, caught in crossfire. The girls, ages 9 and 11, are cousins, and one of their mothers was actually there when it happened. ABC's Aaron Katersky has more.
Tonight, police in New York are searching for suspects who shot 2 girls at a playground.
I'm feeling okay.
9-year-old Rowana was struck in the leg while playing near her home in Brooklyn with her 11-year-old cousin, Empress. She was shot in the back and spoke to our station WABC from her hospital bed.
We were playing and all I heard was like shots and I heard like stuff dropping on the floor. Then I couldn't feel my shoulder and then my cousin started screaming about her leg.
Shots rang out yesterday at dusk as her mom watched the girls from a bench. Police said they recovered grainy surveillance video showing what may be 2 suspects firing at someone. The girls were hit by stray bullets.
A preliminary investigation reveals that there were possibly 2 shooters that fired at least 6 rounds in the direction the children were playing.
Little Rowana is now recovering at home.
I'm devastated. I'm hurt. You know, I cried all night, all morning. And so, yeah, I just want my baby to be safe.
Empress is still in the hospital. Her mom, who witnessed the gunfire, telling us she had an out-of-body experience where the time completely stopped. Police called this shooting horrific. Lindsay, the neighborhood in Brooklyn is plagued by gang violence. That's where police are focusing their investigation. Lindsay?
Aaron, thank you. In a lengthy interview with Time magazine, President Biden weighed in on the Israel-Hamas war. When asked if Prime Minister Netanyahu was prolonging the war for political reservation, Biden said there's every reason for people to draw that conclusion. ABC's Marcus Moore is in Israel tonight.
Tonight, as IDF forces expand their assault in Gaza, Time magazine sitting down with President Biden asking whether he thought the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is prolonging the war and putting his political survival first. Biden saying there is, quote, every reason for people to draw that conclusion, end quote. Today, when asked a similar question again, he said this.
I don't think so. He's trying to work out a serious problem he has. Thank you.
It was just days ago Biden endorsed a new Israeli proposal for a Gaza ceasefire in a new push to end the war and free the hostages. But Netanyahu remains firm on his goal to destroy Hamas, rejecting the plan even as a clear majority in the government and the public support it. Rachel Goldberg Poland's 23-year-old son Hirsch was pushed into the back of a pickup truck by Hamas terrorists and is among those still being held hostage. For Goldberg Poland, the new ceasefire proposal offers some promise, but only some. You put much hope in this?
We're very frightened and nervous. Listen, we are pawns in a game. The hostages are pawns in a game. Their families are pawns in a game.
No one signed up for this at all. Marcus Moore joins us now from Jerusalem. And Marcus, what can we expect next in the effort to try to get the hostages released?
Well, Lindsay, it seems at the moment that a ceasefire deal is still elusive, but officials from the U.S., Egypt, and Qatar are expected to meet in Doha tomorrow to try to revive these negotiations. Lindsay?
All right, Marcus Moore for us in Jerusalem. Marcus, thank you. An MLB player has been permanently banned from the league for gambling more than $150,000 on baseball. San Diego Padres shortstop Tucupita Marcano faced the stiffest penalty of several baseball players penalized by the league today. He gambled on at least 25 Pittsburgh Pirates games while he was playing for the team last year. Marcano, a Venezuelan native, signed with the Padres in the offseason, but has not played as he recovers from a knee injury. Still much more to get to here on Prime tonight as the D-Day anniversary approaches. The veterans traveling to mark the 80 years. But next, we're digging deeper on President Biden's executive action limiting asylum seekers. ABC is on both sides of the border. How will this change the flow of migrants, and what impact will it have?
If you were coming of age in the 1980s, the Brat Pack was near the center of your cultural awareness. But for those of us experiencing it from the inside, the Brat Pack was something very different. On June 10th, 1985, New York Magazine published Hollywood's Brat Pack. I just remember seeing that cover and thinking, oh. From then on, my career and the career of everyone who was involved was branded to the Brat Pack.
I'm really sorry that article had to come out.
I've never talked to anybody about what that was like. So I thought it might be interesting to try and contact everyone who was in the Brat Pack. Hey, Emilio Estevez. This is Andrew McCarthy calling you. Hey, Allie. Hey, Demi. Hey, Molly. Let's call Rob. Hello? Judd? Me? You around? Hey! You were not interested in talking about the Brat Pack for years.
I turned everything down.
How come you're talking to me?
Because you called me. It was time that we clear the air on a couple of things.
I love your stuff, Bob. Hey, thank you. I hated the Brat Pack for decades. What a disaster. If you could have the Brat Pack name not exist, would you?
It really irritated me. They said, what's more important to you, the movie or your life? And I said,
the movie!
Andrew.
Have you talked to the others? The others, like, again, it feels like a cult or something.
Yeah. Why did we take it as an offense?
Well,
as opposed to like
the brat.
Because we were young.
We were afraid we were brats, you know? Are you in the Brat Pack?
I'm Brat Pack adjacent.
That's what I was saying.
I am not in the Brat Pack.
Crush on you back in the day?
You did not, Andrew. No, you did not.
Being in the Brat Pack not only changed all of our lives, it changed what entertainment is. I mean, I'm not going to say we were the Beatles or anything.
Well, we didn't fill Shea Stadium. There were moments.
We could have. 1985, I think we could have.
So what are you filming?
Oh, we're just doing this documentary.
What's it about?
Ancient history.
When it matters most, America turns to David Muir and ABC's World News Tonight.
Hey, do you know a dad in desperate need of a style upgrade? Well, GMA's got you covered. For Father's Day, we're looking for an awesome dad to give the makeover of all makeovers. Scan the QR code or go to goodmorningamerica.com and tell us why a dad in your life deserves a brand new look. It's the Dad Do-Over, a Father's Day celebration on GMA.
Let's go.
We are heading into the unknown.
It doesn't get any more cutting edge than this.
Welcome back, everyone. The news today of President Biden's signing of an executive order tightening restrictions on the southern border, potentially shutting it down overnight, has reverberated across the country. We'll speak to one migrant advocacy group in just a few minutes, but it's also causing confusion on the border itself. We're headed to the U.S.-Mexico border now, where the impact of the president's action limiting asylum seekers is likely to be felt first. Our correspondents are covering all the sides of this issue. ABC's Maria Villarreal is in El Paso, Texas, and our Matt Rivers is in Mexico City. Maria, let's start with you. How would this new action affect border towns that are struggling with an influx of migrants?
You know, Lindsay, that's a really good question. I mean, as you can see behind me, there's a lot of people walking across the border right now to go into Mexico. Just to make it very clear, I mean, when we hear that the border is quote unquote closing or being shut down, that doesn't mean that it's going to affect trade and travel. I mean, that is huge for communities like El Paso. What this will do is have a direct impact on asylum requests that come along these types of communities. We have spoken with nonprofit organizations. They're in a wait-and-see holding pattern. A lot of that has to do with the anticipation of a possible lawsuit that could be filed by the ACLU. For them, it is going to be business as usual, trying to respond to immigration the way they have been on a daily basis.
And Matt, I want to bring you in here. We know organized crime plays a big role in bringing people to the border. And what will today's order mean for those operations?
Well, what we know is that organized crime wants to make money. They look at humans as commodities, and the last couple of years, frankly speaking, have been very good for them when it comes to the amount of people arriving to the border, the amount of people they're facilitating getting to the border. And we know that firsthand because we speak to cartel members firsthand about this. I want to play you a soundbite with a cartel member who's in the smuggling business that I spoke to just a couple of weeks ago about this very topic.
Simplemente está ahí.
Porque ustedes están aquí ganando dinero, ¿no?
Pues sí.
Y ustedes están ganando más dinero que nunca entre este mundo con los migrantes.
Pues sí, porque como la mayoría no invierte casi, pues. El dinero solo se da la vuelta y se multiplica. Lo que no invierte, es como en la droga, que pierdes se fue la inversión, tienes que volver a agarrar lo mismo. Ahí sí son pérdidas, aquí no.
And so it's crude. He's basically talking about people there as commodities. He's saying as opposed to drugs, which you have to invest in, which you have to move, which you then have to deliver in the United States, when it comes to migrants, there's a seemingly never-ending supply. And if one of their loads, quote unquote, as he talks about, gets captured by the authorities, if some of these migrants get caught, they don't exactly provide refunds for their services. So it is an incredibly lucrative business, which goes to my original point here. They're making more money than ever, and no matter what executive order come down, they're going to keep trying to make that money.
Of course. And Maria, you've talked with so many migrants making that crossing over the years. Do you expect today's action to change anything that they're doing?
You know, I think that's probably a good question to ask a lot of those people that do come across the border. You know, listen, I think a lot of them will say that they are coming here because they were told that this is the right moment. I mean, they're not obviously following the news day to day of what the president does, but I will say, to Matt's point, you know, these cartels, these smuggling organizations, they do follow this. And when you see chaos created, when you see dissension between both sides, red and blue, I mean, that creates an opportunity for them to capitalize and tell these migrant families now is the time to come, because if you're not careful, the border will be shut down later on. The bigger concern a lot of nonprofit organizations have told us that they are worried about and they are watching out for is the exception that we've seen in this executive action, which is the ability for people to, or the families to send their children here because they know unaccompanied minors will be taken care of and they are part of this exception. We obviously saw this happen 4 or 5 years ago during the Trump administration. We saw a large influx of young children coming to the border by themselves, being sent across the border by smugglers alone. So they are worried that that may happen during this point. But again, it's a wait-and-see situation depending on if and when that lawsuit is filed.
And so we're talking about Texas and some of those border towns. Matt, how do you think this will impact Mexico?
It's going to have a huge impact, Lindsay, in northern Mexico. This order, as opposed to, if you remember during the Trump years, the Remain in Mexico policy, where the actual program was designed to put people back in Mexico and they would wait their asylum claims to be carried out on the Mexico side. This particular order will immediately deport people, as they say, back to their countries of origin. And so let's just hypothetically say you come all the way from India or from Bangladesh. You've come all the way around the world and you're waiting to get into the United States. And you get right up to the border and then you're told if you cross, you will be immediately deported back to your country and you will not be allowed to apply for asylum. What are you going to do? You're going to wait in Mexico. That is the impact that it's going to have in northern Mexico. I think it's safe to say you're going to see the numbers of migrants waiting in Mexico increase substantially, and that is going to have a bigger burden, a bigger effect on those northern Mexican states that have taken the brunt of this immigration crisis for years now.
A lot of tentacles, a lot of implications here. Matt and Maria, we thank you both. And we should know that tomorrow night, Matt will have a much closer look at those smuggling organizations, how they work, and why they're so hard to shut down. That's our prime focus for tomorrow. The American Civil Liberties Union and other migrant rights groups have already said that they plan to challenge today's order. The ACLU released a statement saying it was illegal when Trump did it, and it is no less illegal now. Jennifer Babai is Director of Advocacy and Legal Services at the Las Americas Immigrant Advocacy Center. Jennifer, thank you so much for taking the time on what we know is a busy night. Let's start with that anticipated legal challenge. What issues do you see with this action?
First and foremost, it's a blanket action by the administration with very little evidence as to why we're resorting to a measure to try to block all individuals that are coming in through the southern border. The second issue, of course, is that by the time individuals reach the fence here at our border, just right behind me, they are already on U.S. soil, and they are owed the right to apply for asylum.
The Biden administration says that they're trying to deter people from attempting entry between ports and claiming asylum after they're apprehended. People will still be able to schedule appointments and official border crossings to apply for asylum. On the surface, it seems like streamlining and normalizing the process could be a good thing, but I'm guessing you don't agree.
Not at all, and I can tell you why. In our experience and in the work that we do every day, we advise individuals who are attempting to wait for these appointments on the CBP One app. It is a luck of the draw if you get an appointment. There is no predictability for how long you will get it, and in the meantime, when you are waiting months for that appointment, you are subject to kidnappings, to abuse by law enforcement on the Mexican side, by cartels and other individuals. It is not a method that provides for the humanity of the individuals that are vulnerable and seeking protection here.
Anyone who's spent any time at all looking at this issue would likely agree that some kind of change is needed. If this isn't the answer, then what is?
Las Americas and other partners of ours have offered solutions to the administration for the last 6 years and before that. We have offered programs that would allow for humane reception. We've offered partnerships with shelters in our area so that we can streamline processing. In fact, right now we have a partnership for individuals who enter with CBP One and are immediately eligible to work. We stand up legal clinics with Border Servant Corps to ensure these individuals are eligible to work within a month of entry. There's dozens of ideas such as this that provide for the reception of these asylum seekers rather than trying to use measures of deterrence that have never worked since we've implemented them in the 90s.
Do you think that this order is a political one?
Absolutely. Without question, this is a political stance because we know that these policies don't work. They didn't work under Trump, and they're not working now.
Jennifer Babai of the Las Americas Immigrant Advocacy Center, we thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.
Still much more to get to tonight coming up. If you're one of the millions of fans awaiting the start of House of the Dragon Season 2, you'll want to hear what the actor behind Lord Corliss has to say about what's ahead. But next, my wide-ranging conversation with Senator LaFonza Butler, the only black woman in the U.S. Senate.
What does it take to be the most watched newscast in America?
An operation to capture ISIS fighters.
Is this our Combat Operations Center?
We're approaching the gate now. Militants came in from 4 or 5 different directions. Operational nuclear reactor. So you have a couple loaded and ready to go. The house is destroyed, but the flag, there's not a tear in it. Not a tear in it. How important is this label right here, Made in the USA? Look at your smile. You're proud of this.
I love this.
Great work. Hi. Where are you? Where are you? Appreciate you. Thank you.
David, good to meet you.
Ismail? David.
David.
Yes, yes. I'm David Muir.
I know who you are.
You
I watch
do?
you every night.
ABC's World News Tonight with David Muir is America's most watched newscast. Whenever news breaks,
We are here in Israel, a nation at war.
In Rolling Fork, this tornado tore through this town.
From Lewiston, Maine.
The scene of a horrific mass shooting.
From the scene of that deadly missile strike.
ABC News Live everywhere.
In Iceland, let's go.
On the
2024 campaign trail.
Here at 10 Downing Street.
Wherever the story is,
We're going to take you there.
You're streaming ABC News Live.
ABC News Live.
You're streaming ABC News Live.
ABC News Live, streaming free everywhere.
Everybody right now is worried that TikTok's going to be banned in the United States.
We owe a lot to TikTok, and I do not want to see it banned.
That's my main source of income. It would bring me into deep depression.
What evidence have you guys actually seen that this is a threat to national security?
The two greatest powers on Earth are vying over a teenage video app.
I am not imagining a future without TikTok.
The death of TikTok? This is Impact by Nightline, now streaming on Hulu.
First thing in the morning.
There's a lot going on.
We're still in a flash flood warning.
To catch you up with what happened overnight. Police in riot gear arresting dozens of protesters.
What's happening today? Escalating tensions in the Middle East.
What people are talking about, the migrant crisis.
Fast, straightforward.
With some fun in between.
Check out the Gator on the 17th hole.
The buzzkill in baseball.
First thing in the morning.
America This Morning.
America's #1 early morning news.
On ABC News Live.
Why do so many people start their day here?
From ABC News, this is Start Here.
To be in the know and get a different take on the day's top stories.
A lot of news today, so let's get into it.
Listen now to the Daily News Podcast honored with 4 Edward R. Murrow Awards and see why the New York Times calls it a news podcast worth listening to. Start Here, ABC News. Make it your daily first listen.
Now, that's a part of the story I bet you didn't see coming.
Wherever you get
Okay, so what are we serving up?
Well, how about everything you need to know?
You know, that sounds pretty good.
Give it to me. Your health, your money, breaking news, pop culture, with the biggest stars, music, trends, and of course, good food. GMA 3, what you need to know. A third hour of GMA in the afternoon.
So join us, afternoons.
For everything you need to know. I love that.
Reporting from the protests at Columbia University, I'm Stephanie Ramos. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
Following the death of longtime California Senator Dianne Feinstein, Governor Gavin Newsom appointed LaFonza Butler, a former labor leader who at the time was president of Emily's List, an organization dedicated to electing pro-choice female candidates. Now she is the only black woman in the U.S. Senate. And while her name is on a growing list of bills, Senator Butler has opted not to run and will vacate the seat. Congressman Adam Schiff is running on the Democratic ticket instead. I spoke with Senator Butler on Capitol Hill about her legislative goals, her future, and the evolving relationship between some black Americans and the Democratic Party. Shirley Chisholm once said, if you don't have a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. You're black, you're a woman, you're queer, you're a mother. You bring a lot to the table. Why walk away from that table?
It's not the table I want to be at. I think that's perfectly, I think, describes how the example my mother provided. It is about doing your best at what is your purpose. While it is an honor, truly, to follow Senator Feinstein's leadership and to represent the incredibly diverse 40 million Californians in the United States Senate, it also is just not the place where I ever wanted to be.
I'm curious if part of your consideration, if you thought that this decision could potentially render the Senate without a single black woman.
It was definitely a concern as I was thinking about whether or not to say no. Voting rights being a part of the discussion happening in the Senate, child care, maternal health, making sure that black women's voices were a part of the consideration right now was an important part of why I said yes. And because I had confidence in the work that we have been doing as Emily's List in the organization, I'm not concerned that there won't be any black women in the United States Senate after my departure. I hope that there's more than one. For me, it was the fact that my daughter's 9 years old. One term as a United States Senator, and I've missed half of her life. That's not the example that my mother showed me.
I want to throw a few stats at you with regard to black women in particular. They're 6 times more likely to be murdered. More than 2/5 will experience intimate partner violence. They're the most educated group in the U.S., but only make 63 cents to every dollar a white man makes, and they consistently have the highest maternal mortality rate. That being said, black women also voted more than 90% for Joe Biden in 2020. Regularly, black women are the most reliable voting bloc for the Democratic ticket. And yet there are critics who say, look, we're not really getting that much in return for our loyalty. Do they have a point?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The truth is my mother has been a loyal Democratic voter since the day she could vote. And she was not able to have stable health insurance in her life until she was 60 years old with the passage of the Affordable Care Act. But she always volunteered. She was a clipboard-carrying organizer in her community. The statistics that you just outlined make it clear that there is a lot of work that needs to be done on behalf of black women by both parties, by all parties. And recognizing that we are the backbone of the Democratic Party is an opportunity right now for the Biden-Harris administration, for leaders like me, for those of us who lead and chair committees in the Senate to ensure that the voices and lived experiences of black women are heard. This is a moment where I think it is imperative for black women to be represented at every level of government, for black women who are voting and volunteering in these campaigns to make sure that they don't just stop when the campaign is over.
According to a recent ABC News poll, 15% of black men say that they plan on voting for Donald Trump in November. 12% voted for him in 2020. So what do you count that increase for, that preference for Trump over Biden, in particular when it comes to black men?
I think it's frustration. I think it is frustration. I think it's mis and disinformation about what this administration has done. I think, there have been a number of reports where some of those very communities think that it was the Trump administration who passed the bipartisan infrastructure laws. I think there's frustration in terms of being, left out, left behind, not talked about, not taken seriously as a part of the black vote in the electorate.
You created the Youth Advisory Council made up of 16 to 28-year-olds, so some of them too young to vote. But for those who are voting age, what do they think of their two choices for president?
We haven't had a political discussion, but, just not related to that advisory council, but just in my travels across the state and across the country, talking to young people, there is a sense of frustration, but I also think a sense of hope. It's just with a group of young leaders at the University of California last night. They believe in this country. They are optimistic about what is possible.
We were just talking about college students, obviously UCLA, USC, at the forefront of protesting the war in Gaza. You, as you mentioned, supported sending money to Israel. Obviously, it was part of a larger foreign aid package. How do you square that with regard to the young people who you're hearing from?
I square it by focusing on what I believe to be true. What I believe to be true is we all have an innate desire to see and respect the humanity of everyone. I don't believe the anti-war protesters wish ill on the people of Israel. I don't believe that the people of Israel wish death and destruction to Palestinians who live in Gaza. I try not to get distracted from what I think unifies us the most, and that is the humanity of others.
Are you still able to do some kind of work toward salvaging reproductive rights?
We have to. We have to. This court has now said that half of Americans don't have the right to make decisions about their own bodies. There is no sitting on the sidelines and no twiddling our thumbs or navel-gazing. This is a Senate where I have seen my colleagues really search to figure out what can we actually pass. We have Senator Tammy Duckworth to introduce legislation simply to support IVF. We have to be in this fight and on this path. We cannot let women continue to die because they can't get access to the health care that they need.
You recently passed the Pride in Mental Health Act, plus two other bills, really to help young people who are struggling with mental health and substance abuse. Explain the purpose and why you feel it's so important.
If you're an LGBTQ plus youth, and in many states in this country, there are no mental health resources directly dedicated to the challenges that you might be trying to navigate. And we can't let that be. And so I have introduced these 3 pieces of legislation to get resources to communities of young people who have been left out of traditional service models. I have introduced these bills to try to make more accessible the resources that people need. We don't have enough mental health care workers right now, but what can we learn about peer support? And helping other young leaders to be of support to their friends and colleagues who might be in danger.
You've been the head of a major union. You helped with the presidential campaign, president of Emily's List, senator, all before the age of 45. What's next?
I don't know. I don't know. This opportunity truly to serve California in a way that, and the country really in a way that I never imagined that I would, has given me the space to pause and to evaluate the lessons of all of those experiences. And so I get to stop now and just think about, how do I want to use the next 45? But I'm not rushing. I'm going to take my time, do well on behalf of 40 million Californians, and figure out my journey later.
Our thanks to Senator Butler for the conversation. Still much more ahead here on Prime tonight. A big change in the Empire hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs' build as he continues to face allegations of sexual and physical abuse. And the WNBA moment that has so many talking, but is this foul really worth all the debate? Just ahead, stay with us.
Important to always remember that lives are changed.
Here in London, in Buffalo, Uvalde, Texas, Edinburgh, Scotland, from Poland once again tonight. Thank you so much for streaming with us. Ukrainian refugees here in Warsaw. Do you think you'll ever be able to go back home? We're heading to a small community outside of Mexico City. Splintered houses and splintered lives, and the magnitude of the devastation. You're streaming ABC News Live. Reporting from Rolling Fork, Mississippi, Santa Fe, New Mexico, Raleigh, North Carolina, the U.S. Capitol, Mayfield, Kentucky,
Minneapolis,
Mexico, Tongass National Forest, Alaska.
Getting you behind the stories as they happen, giving you a front row seat to our world as it plays out in real time, live.
ABC News Live Prime. We'll take you there.
Stream ABC News Live weeknights, America's most honored streaming news program, only on ABC News Live. Streaming free right now wherever you stream your news.
I experienced a lot of rejection, a lot of heartache. I'm a tough woman, but it's not easy. You're gonna feel lonely. There was a lot of personal stuff in my life that was really falling apart. But Mom and Daddy didn't raise no quitter.
Not everybody makes it.
It's taken me a really long time to even get to this moment.
And the CMA Award for Album of the Year
For Female Vocalist of the Year
Entertainer of the Year
goes to
Lainey Wilson.
That was a mic drop.
The Entertainer of the Year, baby! What she is doing right now is changing country music.
I'm proud of myself. I really am. I have worked my ass off. Now it's time to see what's next. I do see the bell bottoms and the hat as my superhero outfit.
I'm Anthony Mackie. Like most fishermen, sharks used to terrify me. If the shark gets too close, I should hit it in the nose.
Well, you don't need to hit it.
I'm on a quest to find out why these apex predators, that's amazing, are swiping fishermen's hard-earned catches. What? You saw that?
Shark Beach with Anthony Mackie.
Woo! That's our fish. Look at that.
Part of the sharkiest 4-week celebration this summer. Shark Fest starts June 30th at 9 on National Geographic.
GMA's surprise people across the country, helping find thousands in unclaimed money.
This really is a big check.
Yeah! And this summer, we're at it again.
That's incredible.
Because nothing's better than hearing you say,
Show me the money!
On Good Morning America.
Hi, I'm Andy. And I'm Sabrina. And we're moms, juggling tons of stuff every day, like all you moms out there. And you know what we love? Really love? Pop culture. So listen now to our new podcast, Pop Culture Moms, wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back. The WNBA is now at the center of a rather heated debate. During a game on Saturday, the Chicago Sky Kennedy Carter shoulder-checked Indiana's Caitlin Clark, knocking her down. A common foul was called, but it was upgraded to a flagrant one on Sunday. It's led to conversations about Clark's treatment and the role stereotypes are playing in the league. Carter spoke about it last night.
But I'm a competitor, and I'm going to compete no matter who you are and no matter who's in front of me. So that's just what it was. Heat of the moment play. We're getting at it. We're going back and forth. It's basketball. It's all hoops. After we finish the game, it's all love.
And here to help break it all down for us is ABC News contributor and Escape senior entertainment reporter Kelly Carter. Kelly, glad so much that you were able to join us tonight. You heard Kennedy Carter's perspective, and Caitlin Clark seemed to shrug it off. It is a contact sport. Do you think that this whole thing is being blown out of proportion?
I think it's absolutely being blown out of proportion. I think what a lot of us are experiencing right now is there are a bunch of new eyeballs watching this sport, and they don't know, I guess, what to expect. This is part of the game, and flagrant fouls most certainly happen. And when they do happen, these players are penalized appropriately, as was the case in this particular game. So I think there's a lot of chatter from a lot of new voices that are paying attention to women's sports like never before.
And do you think, that was going to be kind of my next question, that so many new fans watching is leading perhaps to misunderstandings because they don't realize it can get rough and tumble?
It can get rough and tumble. And I think that, you know, there's so many different conversations happening at the same time. And I think I should say, you know, I am so happy to see that so many new people are watching the WNBA and also women's college basketball. It absolutely, to me, is the most exciting sport that's happening right now. But I think, you know, as a new fan, you need to come with some understanding about what the game actually is. You know, Caitlin Clark is a dynamic athlete, and she definitely has brought a lot of new fans to the sport. But there also are a lot of other standout women that are part of this league as well, that people are coming and buying tickets for and selling out arenas for to watch them be competitive as well.
And there is a lot of nuance here with so many stereotypes at play. Black women are often seen as more violent, white women often as more fragile, and then women in general are often told to act more feminine, to be more ladylike. This is, of course, a very physical sport that we're talking about. What role do you think that those conversations play here?
I mean, I don't know if they have a place in this sport, as you said. I mean, it's a physical, it's a contact sport, you know, in a lot of ways. And this is part of the game. And I know that people like to put women in a particular category. And I think if anything we've seen over the last season, I would even venture to say over the last 2 seasons, is that women can ball and they can compete on the same level that men can. And if you have that expectation going into the sport, into the game, then you know that things like this can happen. Fouls happen all the time. That's why games last so long, because fouls happen and they stop the clock. So this is just part of the game. And I think that, you know, if you're going to be a new fan of the sport, and I know that the WNBA and these athletes certainly welcome it, that you need to come with that understanding.
Par for the course. And Carter's teammate and member of Clark's draft class, Angel Reese, also spoke to reporters last night. Let's listen to what she had to say.
Yeah, the reason why we watch women's basketball is not just because of one person. It's because of me, too, and I want y'all to realize that. Like, it's not just because of one person. A lot of us have done so much for this game, and Kennedy has been here before, obviously, but there are so many great players in this league that have deserved this for a really, really long time, and luckily, it's coming now.
Do you think that the fan focus on 1 or 2 players in particular in these types of moments are overshadowing the game itself and other players?
I think sometimes some of the analysts that are talking about the sports are really only talking about that one player, and she is phenomenal. I don't want that to be lost in this conversation, but Angel Reese is correct. There are people who are fans of the sport because of her. Not many college athletes get a shout out from Cardi B on the record, but, you know, LSU did, the team that Angel Reese played for. So I think that it's really important to note there are a lot of women in the league right now. There are a lot of young women who are coming into the league next season and the seasons after that, that people cannot wait to see compete at that level.
Kelly Carter, always appreciate your insight and your time. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs has sold his majority stake in Revolt, the media company that he founded, as he faces mounting allegations of sexual and physical abuse. Revolt was started more than a decade ago to boost black representation on television. Combs exited Revolt in November 2023 following rape and abuse allegations from former girlfriend Cassie. He denied those accusations, but since leaked footage captured by surveillance cameras showed Combs assaulting Cassie. Combs posted a video admitting to inexcusable behavior. On Impact by Nightline this week, Byron Pitts does a deep dive into the allegations against Diddy. The episode, Diddy's Downfall, drops on Hulu on Thursday. Our next guest is known to millions as Lord of the Tides, Master of Driftmark, and the head of House Valerian. Lord Corlys is back for season 2 of House of the Dragon. Let's take a look.
I mistrust this silence. Daemon flies when we most need his hand at the oar.
Devotion has never sat well with him.
Steve Toussaint joins us. Now, what happened to your hair?
I left that home.
Hey, thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here.
How would you describe, for people who haven't had a chance to see the show, Lord Corlys?
Oh, goodness. Lord Corlys is, well, first of all, he's the most powerful man in the realm. He is a man for whom there is no grey. It's either black or it's white. He is a man of action, a very rich man, and rarely, for this world that we're in, he's a man who actually loves and listens to his wife.
Last season, he really was involved in his own personal war, but now there's really this other war brewing for the throne. What role is he going to take?
So he's basically going to be, he's like an advisor to the Queen Rhaenyra, played by Emma, because the realm is now split into 2 parts, Team Black and Team Green. We feel that Team Black has a legitimate claim and that Team Green are usurpers. So him being the leader of the greatest navy in the realm, he's a great asset, and he will be helping Team Black in the war effort.
What drew you to this role?
Oh, my goodness. Well, first of all, it was a role you couldn't turn down, but also it was a man of complexity. And the thing that I liked, when I first met Ryan and Miguel, who were our showrunners in season 1, we didn't talk about him being a sailor or anything like that, or a warrior. We talked about him being a father, a man who was trying his best to secure the legacy of his family and the safety of his kids in a very clumsy way. But that was his driving force. And so I thought, yeah, that's an interesting way to explore this particular character in this particular world.
One thing that we've talked about on this show before is the backlash that some black actors have had for entering into the sci-fi fantasy space. I'm curious if you felt that personally and what you feel about that criticism.
Yes, I did. It was publicized that there were some people who immediately felt that my casting was completely wrong. And I could understand in the sense that when you read a piece of fiction, if you read it, you have an image in your head as to what that person should look like. So that's understandable. I mean, Daniel Craig, when he was cast as Bond, there was a bigger backlash because he was blonde. So you get that. But what I objected to was then people racially abusing me. That is an issue that we still have to come to terms with. I think most of us are on the right side of history who want to create programs and tell stories that reflect the world that we live in. Because I believe that every drama that we make, wherever it's set, it still reflects the world and the times in which it was made. This is the world that we live in. We are people of all shades and colours, people of all genders and so forth, who now have a voice. And I think television drama should be at the forefront of that, showing people that that is possible. There will always be those naysayers who, in their little bedrooms, they send out their little emails. But
anonymously, yes.
Yeah, but we can't listen to those people.
Game of Thrones obviously was known for its twists and turns. How much of that can we expect this season?
Oh, hey, it's Westeros. So there's going to be a lot of that, a lot of conspiring, a lot of bloodletting, a lot of betrayal, the usual stuff. But also, hopefully, a lovely emotional journey, too, for an awful lot of the characters, including Corlys.
The battles are just really brewing at this point. Who do you think should take the Iron Throne?
I really believe that my character's on the right side, because those people who've watched it will know that the king, before he died, said, my heir should be my daughter. That's Rhaenyra. We had lords coming in and bending the knee and saying, yes, we will follow your wishes. And so now you can't go against that. So I'm definitely Team Black.
Steve Toussaint, we thank you so much for coming by. I really appreciate it. And we want to let our viewers know House of the Dragon Season 2 premieres June 16th on HBO and will be available to stream on Max. This year marks the 80th anniversary of D-Day. ABC's Lara Spencer had the opportunity to spend some time with some of the World War II veterans who played a critical role in our history.
They are the faces we can't afford to forget. The real-life American heroes, now between the ages of 96 and 107, heading back to a place most of them haven't seen since they were fresh-faced kids about to experience the horrors of war for the first time.
I think I'll be probably balling. The honor is so great to be able to go back.
99-year-old Felix Maurizio is one of 68 men and women celebrated at Dallas-Fort Worth Airport as they boarded their special charter, adorned with American flags, about to make the journey back to Normandy, where they will take part in the 80th anniversary of D-Day.
The amount of history that's going to be in the back of this plane, it's unparalleled, probably like nothing we'll ever see in our careers again.
The flight touched down in Paris, where the vets visited the American cemetery. 107-year-old Reynolds Tomter, an aerial gunner during the war, was given the honor of laying a wreath.
We believe in America, for sure. There's no greater place.
Then it was off to Normandy, where the vets were greeted by French locals, thrilled to see the men and women who helped liberate their country. Next stop, the World War II Memorial Museum, where our heroes were given the star treatment they deserve by local children and treated to some music that most certainly brought back memories.
Off we go into the wild blue yonder.
What would you say to that young man today?
Thanks. Thanks.
Our thanks to Lara for that. A well-deserved hero's welcome there. And that is our show for this hour. I'm Lindsay Davis. Be sure to stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. Thanks so much for streaming with us. Coming up in the next hour, nationwide election results in the world's biggest democracy are in, what they could mean. And catch of the day, the couple magnet fishing in New York City, what they pulled out of the water.
Why do so many people start their day here?
From ABC News, this is Start Here.
To be in the know and get a different take on the day's top stories.
A lot of news today, so let's get into it.
Listen now to the Daily News Podcast honored with 4 Edward R. Murrow Awards and see why the New York Times calls it a news podcast worth listening to. Start Here, ABC News. Make it your daily first listen.
Now, that's a part of the story I bet you didn't see coming.
Wherever you get your podcasts, Start Here.
It's lunchtime in America, so what are we serving up?
Well, how about everything you need to know?
You know, that sounds pretty good.
Give it to me. Your health, your money, breaking news, pop culture, with the biggest stars, music, trends, and of course, good food. GMA 3, what you need to know. A third hour of GMA in the afternoon.
So join us, afternoons.
For everything you need to know. I love that.
Are you ready to celebrate? Sunday, June 30th, across the country. See, experience some of the nation's greatest pride celebrations all in one place as they happen live right here on ABC News Live. Pride across America. Celebrate joy, love, freedom, and pride. Sunday, June 30th, starting at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Streaming on ABC News Live and stream on Hulu.
What does it take to be the most watched newscast in America?
An operation to capture ISIS fighters.
Is this our combat operations center?
We're approaching the gate now. Militants came in from 4 or 5 different directions. Operational nuclear reactor. So you have a couple loaded and ready to go. The house is destroyed, but the flag, there's not a tear in it. Not a tear in it. How important is this label right here, Made in the USA? Look at your smile. You're proud of this.
I love this.
Great work.
Hi.
Where are you? Where are you?
Appreciate you. Thank you, David. Good to meet you.
Ismail? David.
David.
Yes, yes. I'm David Muir.
I know who you are.
You
Watch
do?
you every night.
ABC's World News Tonight with David Muir is America's most watched newscast.
All right, let the dogs out, please.
I don't think he's going to give you a hard time.
Even if he gives me a hard time, I'm the right guy. I want to make sure that we all learn together.
Calm, confident.
Calm, confident, calm, surrender.
Everything that he's taught has become a reality.
We are so grateful and impressed.
I feel like crying. You changed our world.
It is a beautiful thing to see. As you rehabilitate the dog, you also rehabilitate you.
Reporting from Monterey Park, California, I'm Robin Roberts. Wherever the story is, we're going to take you there. You're streaming ABC News live.
Good evening, everyone. This is ABC News Live Prime. I'm Lindsay Davis. Thanks so much for streaming with us. We have a lot of news to get to this evening, including the developing news as we come on the air after President Biden signed an executive order dramatically tightening restrictions at the southern border. Why the border could shut down overnight, what this move just months away from the election now means, and how it impacts the men, women, and children seeking asylum. We have coverage from both sides of the border. Plus, if you haven't been able to make any calls on your cell phone today, you are one of millions of customers who experience disruptions, what we now know. And the latest on the deadly floods in Germany and the towns underwater. But we do begin with President Joe Biden's move to address what is consistently one of voters' top concerns ahead of November's election: immigration. A new executive order could potentially close the border to migrants crossing illegally as soon as midnight. The executive order restricts asylum claims at the southern border and bans migrants from seeking asylum if they cross illegally. Today, Biden defended America as a country that welcomes immigrants, but said we must first secure the border and secure it now. The president said he took the step because Republicans in Congress wouldn't agree to the bipartisan legislation negotiated this year. Trump took a similar step when he was in office, and Democrats at the time fiercely criticized it. Rachel Scott leads us off tonight from the White House.
President Biden taking sweeping executive action to address the crisis at the border, announcing plans to strictly limit the asylum process, and a move that will temporarily close the border to migrants crossing illegally at midnight tonight.
I've come here today to do what the Republicans in Congress refuse to do: take the necessary steps to secure our border.
It comes after Republicans in Congress rejected a tough bipartisan border deal at the urging of Donald Trump, who wants to run on the issue. Under today's new executive action, when migrant apprehensions average 2,500 a day over the course of a week, the asylum process for people crossing illegally would automatically shut down. They would no longer be allowed to stay in the United States while their claims are being processed.
Doing nothing is not an option. We have to act. We must act consistent with both our law and our values as Americans.
The restrictions would only be lifted when apprehensions drop to 1,500 a day or less for 2 weeks. We haven't seen numbers that low in years. The president says there would be limited exceptions for unaccompanied children and victims of human trafficking. And he insists his position on immigration is far different than Donald Trump.
Well, I will never demonize immigrants. I'll never refer to immigrants as poisoning the blood of a country. And further, I'll never separate children from their families at the border.
Today, Trump says Biden is only doing this because he's desperate.
Crooked Joe Biden is pretending to finally do something about the border. But in fact, it's all about show because he knows we have a debate coming up in 3 weeks. The truth is that Joe Biden's executive order won't stop the invasion. It's weak and it's pathetic.
Progressive Democrats warn Biden's move could backfire.
They think it's going to bring Republicans over or some independents. I don't think it does. And I think in the end, we end up hurting the very people that we're fighting for.
But the mayor of Laredo, who stood with Biden today at the White House, tells me the president had no choice.
What type of impact is this going to have where you live?
Well, first of all, we don't have all the resources to deal with the migrants coming to our borders, especially medical services. We're medically underserved as it is, and we don't have a lot of infrastructure. And being able to deal with poverty and people that are homeless would be another situation that we don't want to have that happen in our community.
Our thanks to Rachel Scott. Now to the trial of President Biden's son, Hunter Biden. Today, lawyers set out their cases in opening statements, and jurors got their first look at the document at the center of the federal gun charges. ABC's Terry Moran is at the courthouse in Wilmington, Delaware.
With his wife by his side, Hunter Biden today was back in federal court in Delaware for opening statements in his trial on felony gun charges. First Lady Jill Biden and Hunter's sister Ashley sat behind the defendant in a show of support, while prosecutor Derek Hines laid out the government's case, telling the jury no one is above the law. It doesn't matter who you are or what your name is. The president's son, Hines said, bought a gun and lied during a background check in 2018, knowing he was a drug user and a drug addict when he filled out the federal form for gun purchases. And the prosecutor painted a vivid portrait of Hunter Biden, the crack addict, including evidence from his laptop and text messages admitting, "I'm a liar and a thief, a user and an addict." Defense lawyer Abby Lowell told jurors in his opening statement Hunter Biden did not knowingly violate these laws, and said at the time he bought the gun, Hunter was using alcohol, not drugs, that his behavior was totally inconsistent with drug use, saying there's no such thing as a high-functioning crack addict. Then the first witness, an FBI agent, played Hunter Biden reading his own words from the audiobook of his memoir, Beautiful Things, recounting his days among drug users.
I was just as much a part of the depravity as they were. I was smoking crack every 15 minutes.
Finally, jurors saw the angry text exchange between Hunter and Hallie Biden, his brother Beau's widow, and Hunter's girlfriend at the time, who found the gun and ditched it in a trash can. "Did you take that from me? You're being totally irresponsible and unhinged," Hunter texted. Hallie responding, "I just want you to be safe. That was not safe."
Our thanks to Terry Moran. Now to the AT&T service disruptions that affected millions of customers who were not able to make calls to phones on other networks this afternoon. Late today, AT&T said the issue is resolved. Here's Ariel Resha with more about what happened.
Tonight, reports from across the country that AT&T users are unable to make or receive calls to other carriers. The website Down Detector, which tracks self-reported outages, showing New York City, Chicago, Philadelphia, Dallas, Pittsburgh, and Indianapolis among those cities with the most reports of issues. AT&T confirming in a statement that there is a nationwide issue that is affecting the ability of customers to complete calls between carriers. AT&T says a notice they sent to 911 call centers that emergency services were affected was sent in error, and 911 calls are operating normally at this time. Back in February, AT&T customers in major cities all over the country lost cell service for hours. That included emergency services, 911 in multiple states, and FirstNet, a nationwide network for first responder and police communication. The FCC opened a formal investigation into the cause, which AT&T blamed on a technical error while expanding their network.
Our thanks to Ariel. Now to the dangerous and life-threatening heat wave moving into much of the southwestern U.S. 30 million people on alert. Triple-digit temperatures and record highs are expected in many places. ABC Chief Meteorologist Ginger Z is standing by with a look at what's ahead. Hey, Ginger.
Hey there, Lindsay. So excessive heat warnings in Nevada, Arizona, and California. You know, if Las Vegas hits 110 tomorrow, which they'll get close, it would be the earliest on record. That's the thing. This is early. And it's about 3 weeks early for them to do this. And you'll see those excessive heat warnings all the way up to Redding, so up those valleys in California. That's the thing, too. It's not just going to stop in the desert Southwest. That high is going to build with the ridge. Boise, Idaho, 96. Salt Lake City, up to 97 to start the weekend. Looks like most people start to cool or moderate, I should say, not that cool going into the weekend, but still those records could fall in those areas that are boxed. Let's talk about the damaging winds that are happening as we speak. There's severe thunderstorm watches for parts of Mississippi and Louisiana. Those flood watches I want your eye on because Oklahoma City got hit hard overnight with more than 4.5 inches of rain. They're going to do it again tonight, and it will look like this. That Boeing area will start to come together, especially in southeastern Oklahoma, Paris, Texas, Tyler, Texas, over to Shreveport by early morning tomorrow. With that, you get 2 to 4 inches really fast. Lindsay?
No rest for the weary. We can see that is actually taking a toll for your voice there, Ginger. We hope that your laryngitis goes away soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
2 young girls were shot at a playground in Brooklyn, caught in a crossfire. The girls, ages 9 and 11, are cousins, and one of their mothers was there when it happened. ABC's Aaron Katursky has the latest.
Tonight, police in New York are searching for suspects who shot 2 girls at a playground.
I'm feeling okay.
9-year-old Rowana was struck in the leg while playing near her home in Brooklyn with her 11-year-old cousin, Empress. She was shot in the back and spoke to our station WABC from her hospital bed.
We were playing and all I heard was like shots and I heard like stuff dropping on the floor. Then I couldn't feel my shoulder and then my cousin started screaming about her leg.
Shots rang out yesterday at dusk as her mom watched the girls from a bench. Police said they recovered grainy surveillance video showing what may be 2 suspects firing at someone. The girls were hit by stray bullets.
A preliminary investigation reveals that there were possibly 2 shooters that fired at least 6 rounds in the direction the children were playing.
Little Rowana is now recovering at home.
I'm devastated. I'm hurt. You know, I cried all night, all morning. And so, yeah, I just want my baby to be safe.
Empress is still in the hospital. Her mom, who witnessed the gunfire, telling us she had an out-of-body experience where the time completely stopped.
Our thanks to Aaron Katursky. In a lengthy interview with Time magazine, President Biden weighed in on the Israel-Hamas war, answering a question about whether Prime Minister Netanyahu was prolonging the war for political preservation. ABC's Marcus Moore reports in from Israel tonight.
Tonight, as IDF forces expand their assault in Gaza, Time magazine sitting down with President Biden, asking whether he thought the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is prolonging the war and putting his political survival first. Biden saying there is, quote, every reason for people to draw that conclusion, end quote. Today, when asked a similar question again, he said this.
I don't think so. He's trying to work out a serious problem he has. Thank you.
It was just days ago Biden endorsed a new Israeli proposal for a Gaza ceasefire in a new push to end the war and free the hostages. But Netanyahu remains firm on his goal to destroy Hamas, rejecting the plan even as a clear majority in the government and the public support it. Rachel Goldberg Poland's 23-year-old son Hirsch was pushed into the back of a pickup truck by Hamas terrorists and is among those still being held hostage. For Goldberg Poland, the new ceasefire proposal offers some promise, but only some. You put much hope in this?
We're very frightened and nervous. Listen, we are pawns in a game. The hostages are pawns in a game. Their families are pawns in a game.
So many on edge. Marcus Moore reporting from Jerusalem tonight. Now to Capitol Hill and the combative hearing there. Attorney General Merrick Garland defended the Justice Department from allegations of political bias, reminding lawmakers the DOJ had no role in Donald Trump's conviction in New York. Here's our Chief Justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas.
Tonight, the Attorney General firing back, rebuking Republican claims that the Department of Justice is being weaponized.
These repeated attacks on the Justice Department are unprecedented, and they are unfounded.
In an intense more than 5-hour hearing, Garland today defiant, even as he faces the threat of being held in contempt by House Republicans for refusing to release the audio of President Biden's interview with the special counsel over Biden's handling of classified documents.
I will not be intimidated, and the Justice Department will not be intimidated.
And Garland, for the first time, blasting false allegations that the DOJ and Biden were behind the Manhattan District Attorney's prosecution and conviction of former President Trump on 34 felony counts.
That conspiracy theory is an attack on the judicial process itself.
But Republicans accusing the DOJ of playing politics, clearly angry about the Manhattan jury's verdict.
Justice is no longer blind in America.
They're so desperate to stop him that they are willing to use the judicial system to do so. It is a new low.
Democrats forcefully pushing back.
These Republicans don't care what's in the interest of the American people. They just care about getting their favorite felon back in the White House.
A lot of heated exchanges there today. Pierre Thomas joins us. Now, Pierre, how is Garland responding to all this?
Well, he says all these accusations accusing DOJ of playing politics come at a dangerous moment, Lindsay. He worries they could fuel an intensifying spike in threats of violence aimed at DOJ employees.
Pierre Thomas from the Hill for us. Thanks so much, Pierre.
Pleasure.
A man in New York City made a surprising discovery over the weekend. James Kane was fishing for objects in the water using a high-powered magnet and pulled up a safe containing bags of $100 bills. The money was covered in slimy sediment and stuck together after decomposing underwater. Kane estimates there could be as much as $100,000 in that safe. He reported his findings to police and was told since there was no evidence of a crime, he could keep the cash. Still much more ahead tonight on Prime. Coming up, genre-defying musician and actor Young Gravy is in the house, and he's going country. But next, the latest on the deadly floods in Germany, the Danube River towns now underwater.
They call him the Beauty Queen Killer. He's targeting young women in malls.
I am single. I want to join the company of a member of women.
He tortured me.
How did she survive 9 days of terror?
The word accomplice came up. Nobody knows the real story.
The Beauty Queen Killer, only on Hulu.
Everybody right now is worried that TikTok's going to be banned in the United States.
We owe a lot to TikTok, and I do not want to see it banned.
That's my main source of income. It would bring me into deep depression.
What evidence have you guys actually seen that this is a threat to national security?
The two greatest powers on Earth are vying over a teenage video app.
I am not imagining a future without TikTok.
The death of TikTok? This is Impact by Nightline, now streaming on Hulu.
I experienced a lot of rejection, a lot of heartache. I'm a tough woman, but it's not easy. You're gonna feel lonely. There was a lot of personal stuff in my life that was really falling apart. But Mom and Daddy didn't raise no quitter.
Not everybody makes it.
It's taken me a really long time to even get to this moment.
And the CMA Award for Album of the Year for Female Vocalist of the Year,
Entertainer of the Year
goes to Lainey
Wilson.
That was a mic drop.
The Entertainer of the Year, baby! What she is doing right now is changing country music.
I'm proud of myself. I really am. I have worked my ass off. Now it's time to see what's next. I do see the bell bottoms and the hat as my superhero outfit.
Reporting from the Capitol, I'm Rachel Scott. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
Welcome back. We're tracking several headlines around the world. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has claimed a historic third win in a row in the country's parliamentary elections. But his party failed to win the large majority they had predicted, meaning they will not be allowed to make changes to the country's constitution. Analysts say rising prices, joblessness, and a controversial army recruitment reform may have alienated some voters. In southern Germany, severe flooding has killed 5 people. Rescuers are using boats to reach those trapped by the rising water. Persistent heavy rain over the weekend led to widespread flooding in the region. Officials are warning that water levels could rise further in some areas before they recede. And seeking higher ground, hundreds of families from an indigenous group living off of an island off Panama's Caribbean coast are bidding their homes farewell. More than 1,300 people will be relocated to new houses on the mainland in response to rising sea levels. Panamanian officials say it's Latin America's first human displacement caused by climate change, but they say others will follow. His stage name, like his music, speaks volumes. Rapper, singer, songwriter, and actor Young Gravy is bringing his secret sauce to the retro rap genre. Billions of streams, countless viral hits, and several sold-out tours later, the multi-platinum superstar is bringing listeners his first ever country single and music video, Clementine. Let's take a listen.
She the line dance leader, looking fine as hell, blue jeans and a beater. Shorty got the juice and she love when I squeeze her. Summertime, Clementine, ain't none sweeter. She my little Clementine, ain't told her but she mighty fine. And her jeans just don't fit right. Shorty got me in love.
And platinum powerhouse Young Gravy joins us now in studio. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
So you've certainly made a mark by being able to have this fusion of vintage soul, of trap music, of everything from the 50s to the 80s. What made you decide to pivot from rap to country?
So the soul music and a lot of the oldies that I'd sampled before, I mean, that's probably my favorite music and what I listened to a lot when I was younger. And there was always country around, and I've grown up in Minnesota, but I befriended some people in country, Morgan Wallen, Hardy, and but importantly, Shania Twain and I became very close. And I just wanted to try it, and ended up having a lot of fun.
And talk to us about Clementine and what it has in common with Chicken Fried and also The Notebook.
So Clementine was going to be a Chicken Fried flip. I was staying at Zach Brown's house, and we were going to try to flip the song, and I just got a feeling that I don't want to ruin perfection. So then we took the hook melody, obviously, but replayed everything and made it. I wrote it about an ex.
That always works, especially in country. You got to have a broken heart, really, it seems like, to crank out those country hits.
Told a lot more true stories in this, this album than in the rap stuff. It's
You, in Gravy Train and also Mr. Clean, you pull out those iconic samples. How were you able to really find your identity in music by sampling other people's music?
I think that basically the new generation doesn't get access to some of this amazing music that I love. Right Back Where We Started From is a good example. And at first, before I had the capability of actually creating that music myself, and having producers who can play all the instruments, all I had was the samples. So I just took my favorite songs and threw trap drums on them.
Would you consider yourself an old soul?
Yes, absolutely.
Do you think that this might be, obviously Beyonce, there was a lot of talk about her venturing into country music genre. Do you think this might be something that other artists might dabble in?
Seems like it. So I started making the album about 2 years ago, and then I was previewing it, and everyone was super hyped, like, oh, this is crazy, this is brand new. And then Beyonce did it, Post Malone did it, and now all the people are like, oh my God, everyone's bandwagoning. It's like, no, I don't think they are. I think that these artists have been working on this for a long time, and I guess smart minds think alike. I don't know. I guarantee Beyonce was working on it 2 years ago.
Right.
Same with Post Malone.
Heading to Governor's Ball this weekend. What's happening there?
I'm performing for the first time at, a big New York festival, and I'm on Friday. I'm going to preview a lot of the new album. I'm excited because I've done a lot of the big festivals all over, but Governor's Ball has always been one I was hoping for, so I got a good slot, too. I think it'll be a poppin'.
Thank you so much, Young Gravy, for coming by. Really appreciate it. I want to let our viewers know that you can listen to Young Gravy anywhere you stream your music, and his Serving Country album is coming this summer. And still to come, as the 80th anniversary of D-Day approaches, the military women who were right there on that beach.
Why do so many people start their day here?
From ABC News, this is Start Here.
To be in the know and get a different take on the day's top stories.
A lot of news today, so let's get into it.
Listen now to the Daily News Podcast honored with 4 Edward R. Murrow Awards and see why the New York Times calls it a news podcast worth listening to. Start Here, ABC News. Make it your daily first listen.
Now, that's a part of the story I bet you didn't see coming.
Wherever you get your podcasts, Start Here.
Let's go.
The ship is incredible. It feels like living in a science fiction movie.
We just saw what no one has seen before.
Wow, look at that.
Oh my gosh.
Well, dead ahead. Tag on!
We are heading into the unknown.
Hammer, hammer, hammer. It doesn't get any more cutting edge than this.
Coming of age in the 1980s, the Brat Pack was near the center of your cultural awareness. But for those of us experiencing it from the inside, the Brat Pack was something very different. If you could have the Brat Pack name not exist, would you? I hated the Brat Pack. What a disaster.
Why did we take it as an offense? Andrew?
I'm not going to say we were the Beatles or anything.
Well, we didn't fill Shea Stadium.
1985? I think we could have.
With so much much at stake, so much on the line, more Americans turn here than any other newscast. ABC News World News Tonight with David Muir, America's #1 most watched newscast across all of television. This week, the best place to start your day is GMA. Because things are turning inside out when Amy Poehler stops by. Plus, Travis Kelce's on GMA, and you know he has a lot to talk about. This week on Good Morning America.
As we get ready to mark the 80th anniversary of D-Day, ABC's Lara Spencer has a special look at the bravery off the battlefield and the women of the war.
We can do it.
And they did. These women, just teenagers when they put their dreams on hold to do their part for their country.
You wanted to be doing something. It meant a lot to do that.
100-year-old Marjorie Stone from Amherst, Massachusetts, is one of 68 World War II veterans, 3 of them women, being honored this week in Normandy at the 80th anniversary of D-Day. World War II marked the first time in American history all branches of the U.S. military allowed women to enlist, and more than 350,000 answered the call.
I feel like we started something. There were no women in it at that point, and we started it, and look where the women are now. Yep. So we started something.
And then there were the Rosies.
She's making history, working for victory. Rosie, the riveter.
May I ask how old you are?
I am 99 years old.
Years young. 4 years you were a Rosie.
Yes.
But once a Rosie, always a Rosie.
Yeah.
Connie Palazzo became a riveter on B-17s. She was just 18 years old, the same age that Jeannie Gibson was when she became a Rosie. Why was it so important for you to make this journey now?
Now? I'm running out of time. I'm 98 years old.
Gibson left college to work as a welder in a shipyard in Seattle.
These girls already trained in our new defense program.
One of 6 million Americans who put their lives on hold to take jobs essential to the war effort, like building warplanes and battleships.
It takes somebody who can say, I can do it, to do it.
Nicknamed after the popular image of Rosie the Riveter, with her signature denim shirt and red headscarf, whose motto was, "We can do it."
Where's Phyllis?
We first heard the Rosie story back in 2014, thanks to another Rosie, Phyllis Gould, who petitioned for 30 years, asking that the Rosies be recognized by the U.S. government.
We're not going to be here that much longer. And we need to get this out because nobody else can do it for us.
Gould continued to lobby for Congress to formally recognize the Rosies for the work they had done until the day she died in 2021. A dream finally realized this past April when Jeannie Gibson and 26 other Rosies were brought to D.C. to receive the Congressional Medal of Honor. This week in Normandy, that recognition for these 3 and all the men and women who served and sacrificed continues.
Signature Rosie the Riveter fists. Our thanks to Lara Spencer for bringing us that story. And that is our show for tonight. I'm Lindsay Davis. ABC News Live is here for you all night with the latest news, context, and analysis. You can always find us on Hulu, Roku, Pluto TV, the ABC News app, and of course on abcnews.com. The news never stops. Thanks so much for streaming with us. Have a great night.
Are you ready to celebrate? Sunday, June 30th, across the country. See, experience some of the nation's